Hello, beautiful people. Red Level Entertainment. Thank you for having us once again. Take over your page. And if you are watching from the Girls Like Me project page, hello to my GLMPI family. If you're watching from my personal page, what up, everybody? So excited to bring somebody on to have you all talk about this fantastic happening this weekend. Just the most amazing thing I think we've been waiting all of COVID for. This is the perfect time to head back safely into the movie theaters, and that is none other than to see the blockbuster. We're gonna claim it, the international blockbuster of King Richard. Let me tell you why this movie is so important to me. I am the founder of Girls Like Me Project, and Girls Like Me Project is an organization that works with Black girls ages 11 through 18 to help them identify the social, cultural, and political ideologies that are found in media. We work to help girls understand media literacy, how to push back against stereotypes and stigmas, and the negative media messages that are pushed at them through the media. And we also empower them with tools so they can become trained digital storytellers. That means producers, directors, writers, casting directors, working the tech behind the scenes, all of those things. We empower our girls with that. And so because this movie, King Richard, is a story that is told about two of our most incredible in our lifetime, two incredible talents, two incredibly gifted world changers, and their father. What an empowering, important piece of history we have. Even though it's a fictional, it's told through a fictitious lens. It is certainly something we've been waiting for. Again, Girls Like Me Project is taking over the Red Level page. So we thank you all for tuning in. I want to bring on a very special guest who we have, Miss Sarita Talbert. Sarita Talbert is the founding executive director of Talbert Memorial Fund, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about that. But Sarita also has a very special connection to the movie King Richard, and I'm gonna bring her on now. Y'all give it up wherever you are, in your homes, driving, wherever you are watching this. I want you to give it up right now to the one and only Syreeta Talbert. Welcome to Girls Like Me Project's takeover of Red Level Entertainment.
Hi, Lakeisha.
Hi. You know, it's so funny that I think we've been connected for a while. I think we were connected through Kamika Smith of the Boss Network, and I don't think we ever formally got introduced.
Well, hi, how are you?
And the craziest thing is somebody was mentioning you the other day, and it was like, yeah, she sells candles, this, that, and the other. So I'm like, oh, listen, when I tell you I love candles, I have candles everywhere. So as soon as I heard that, I'm like, I need candles in my life. So I purchased.
Wait a minute, let me get mine. Hold on. I got my reawaken.
Yes, I got my rewind. Yes, I got my rewind, right? And so I'm thinking like, okay, this thing gonna come. I can't wait. I'll be smelling it in my office. It'll be all good. And then I get an email, and it's you saying, what a small world. You saw the magazine, the Citizen newspaper with us on the front page, and you were like, I'm trying to figure out where you know your name from. You just bought a candle.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, gosh, that name sounds familiar. And so I put it to the side, and it was one of those God-tastic days where everything was just so in alignment.
Yes.
And I get home, and I, of course, get the response that I have an order. So I click, no. Actually, I had just dropped your candle off.
I had just got it before I left out. The package came right on my way out the door.
Yes, that's what it was. I was at the post office, dropped it off with some other orders, and then went so vegetarian and give me something to eat. And I kind of looked and I was like, wow, that name sounds so familiar. And then I was like, okay. And then when I got home to attach the receipt to the order, I was like, oh gosh, this is who ordered some candles from me.
And literally walking out the door that day, the candle had just arrived. So y'all, if she's gonna talk about her Talbert Memorial Fund, but you must get this candle. You have how many scents of it? How many scents do you have?
There's 8. So there's relax, reset, rewind, rejoice, reawaken, release, remove. And there's one more.
So you know what? It doesn't matter because they're gonna go on the site and they're gonna buy it out. We want it sold out for Black business.
Yes.
Friday, we want those candles sold out. So Sarita, we're going to talk about the movie King Richard movie, and I've invited another guest on with us as well, LaVon Stone Sr. from Activist, who is doing important and majestic work here in the city around violence prevention. Because Sarita, what I feel personally about this movie is that it touches on so many issues. But for me, first and foremost, growing up in Compton, growing up around what we know was happening in Compton at that time, that tennis saved that family's life. That tennis saved those girls' lives and gave them broader horizons. We know that that's the case for Chicago, or can be the case for Chicagoans as well, right? We also saw Richard Williams in his powerful role as a strong, unapologetic Black father. Woo, I love it.
Unapologetic.
Unapologetic. Excellent. I love it. Okay. And so those things, and then also just how we parent our children to have a dream, to believe in that dream, to invest in their dreams, and to continue even against adversity, even when you don't believe it or can't see it, to believe in it. So that's why I wanted to have you come on, and I also have coming on right now LaVon Stone Jr. of Activist.
I'm LaVon Stone Sr., but thanks again.
I literally just said senior like seconds ago, and now
that's okay. No, that's come on.
It's juniors out there. You got a junior, so.
Oh yeah, little LaVon, right? But
yes.
How are you all? So I couldn't hear you at first. I couldn't hear you at first. Sir. So how you doing? I can't say if you all can hear me at all either. Can you?
No, we couldn't. We can hear you now, but we couldn't while you were in the green room.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, so LaVon, we have with us Syreeta Talbert, and Syreeta has started the Talbert Memorial Fund in honor of her son, who she also lost to gun violence. But Syreeta also has a connection to the King Richard movie, a very special connection. And Syreeta, I'm gonna let you talk about all of those things.
What order you want me to go? You want to talk about the film first?
Whatever you're most comfortable, whichever way you're most comfortable.
You know what? Since we're talking about the movie, we'll start there.
Yeah.
Yes, King Richard, I've seen twice this past weekend. It's special to me, and it holds a special place because I am family with the Price Williams family. I've known them for almost 2 decades now, and we vacation together. Serena's my big little sister. They all are. Our families really merged because their oldest sister, Yetunde, was murdered in Compton. And prior to my son's incident, I had a brother who unfortunately was murdered 20 years prior. So that kind of connected our family. About 9 months before my son was murdered, they launched the Yetunde Price Resource Center in Compton. And my brother and I wanted to make sure my mother met with Mama O at the time, because those two are just two enormously strong women for me, that I was able to see them kind of be resilient in their day-to-day life, raising a family, but still having to deal with the loss, or not really kind of dealing with the loss of a child. And then they became like my mentors in a sense 9 months later when I lost my son to gun violence. But how it was very eerie watching the movie, because to know them intimately, the woman who played, I can't think of her name or scene, or we call her Mama O.
Anjanou Ellis.
Anjanou, yes. It literally felt like I had to whisper to Isha, like, oh my gosh, this is like watching as if your mother has a twin. She has her personality to a T. the other beautiful thing about this movie is there's no ad-libbing. How Will portrays Mr. Richard is exactly how he is in real life. Like, down to the fidgeting, the way he moves his lips and the toothpick in his mouth, the sarcasm, or we call it the pettiness. He's King Petty. So if you know Serena is Queen Petty. And I literally was just like, okay, now it makes sense where she has inhibited this DNA type of characteristic. But again, that was way back then before I even met them. So to know them now and to develop such close relationships with them, they've not changed. The foundation that Mr. Williams set for them early on, like family, is extremely important to them. Speaking their minds is extremely important to them. Encouraging others is extremely important to them. Literally, it just felt like deja vu. I met the young girl who played Serena, and we were all standing next to each other. And I had turned to Serena, was like, looking at her is like looking, the casting of that film, they hit every single characteristics via the facial to how they express themselves of each individual sister. Again, I never met Tunde, the oldest, but from Isha, Landrea, then V, and Serena. And it's so reflective. And just seeing Serena, how she is with Olympia, extremely, installing those values early on. And I think what we laughed at, my brother and I, was when they get to the part of the film and he has them watch Cinderella. And now I understand, because I was just at Serena's house like maybe 3 weeks ago. And we were watching, if not Cinderella, we were watching Snow White, but like the old version. So I'm like, okay, well, apparently this started a long time ago. And karaoke, everything we do has to have a karaoke. So again, things that started way back when have carried on throughout their entire journey into adulthood, and I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon.
That is so amazing, just to hear a first count that they are who we want them to be, who we hope they are, as portrayed in the media news. So this movie is special to us because Girls Like Me is hosting a special screening as a fundraiser this Friday, tomorrow. And Activist, Ligon Stone Seniors organization, is a strong supporter and sponsor of this event. Because girls understanding, right, how they're represented, as he made them watch that. Well, we won't give it away. as that, because I watched it on Monday. But as that goes to show, like, what the importance is, and Levon, I want you to talk about this a little bit too. But Sarita, what values did you see that you think our young people and our families overall, not just young people, like, there's some lessons for fathers, right? There are lessons for everybody to walk away with. What lessons would you say, Sarita, most stood out to you in the movie?
To live your life outside the line, not what society has defined for you. Yes, there are certain rules that are put in place, but if you are passionate, that whole mind thought of just because one person says no, yeah, okay, you take that as a stepping stone for somebody that's going to say yes to something greater. And then going with your gut, not just because something sounds good or attractive, but keeping first God and Jehovah as the CEO. And when you consult with him, it doesn't matter. The one thing about Mr. Williams, as you'll see in the film, is we're not taking the first offer. We're not taking the first no, and because of that, they got triple, double, quadruple the blessings, So I think just the whole, again, living life outside the lines, which I kind of do. It's very freeing, very transparent. I just see it now more in 4D post my son's death, because life means a whole lot different to me now. So at this point, can't nobody say do anything like, nothing. And then just being resilient, just continue to press on. There's going to be those low seasons, but just having the resilience because personally what that end goal looks like. And so by any means necessary, as long as you keep it with honesty, integrity. Granted, he had like a little playeristic, the way he kind of played stuff, but I mean, it was, he played the game against them and it worked for him and his family. But he, studied Habakkuk 2.2. He wrote the vision and he stuck to his vision. And again, to be the greatest of all times and the number one African-American woman who in tennis or sports that just broke barriers, both of them from the same family, again, speaks like, it just made me have that much more appreciation that I'm like, shit, excuse my friend. This is like family to me. And while I see them as the tennis greats, but because I know them from a personal point, but it just made me be like, wow. And at this point, there's nothing that I'm not going to want or ask for that, if it takes 2, 3, 10 years, I know if it's a God idea, it's going to come to fruition on his timing.
Absolutely.
A God idea.
A God idea, yeah.
A God idea. And Levon has limited time. He's super busy. So thank you for stopping by with us this evening. This is a perfect segue to you. Your God idea that your life assignment, right? The path that God has had you on since high school with your incidents with violence has put you on a path to recognize all the different forms of violence prevention. And Vaughn, you are sponsoring our screening of King Richard, and we're using this as a violence prevention model, right? Activist sponsors and supports and funds so many different organizations in the city, and they don't all look the same. So somebody's probably wondering, like, what does tennis have to do with violence, right? Or anti-violence or violence prevention. So Vaughn, I want you to speak a little bit about that, and then I want Sarita, because you see moms and you have to help moms, and your organization helps moms just like Syreeta, who unfortunately are part of that sorority of Black women who have lost their children.
So I'll start by saying thank you ladies also for allowing me this opportunity, right? Because again, I come from a household where it was I'd say 7 girls and it was 9 girls and 2 boys, right? So again, I know the power of having a strong Black woman, right, with her own identity and respecting women, right? So I think I'll start off by saying tennis. When we think about tennis and what it takes to even play tennis, right? People underestimate. I've played tennis. That's coming from the 90s. I grew up around the 95th Street area, right? Abbott Park had a tennis court out there where I remember being young, like underestimating, oh man, that ain't nothing. We talked about like that's a girl sport. But when my friends all was in the swimming pool and I was scared of swimming, I had to get to know myself, because you meet other people, you do other things. So again, to me, I take my hat off to not just tennis, but I also take my hat off to Access Tennis for, seeing a vision where they're looking at violence prevention, look different ways. Everybody ain't gonna play basketball, right? Everybody ain't gonna be high-risk individuals. So there's several different ways of looking at violence. And to me, we've isolated to 2 big major things. And when I say isolated to 2 big major things is you can look at violence prevention and define what violence prevention look like, and you can look at what violence reduction look like. We've had an opportunity to be the second year to receive direct funding from the state and the governor's budget with the push of the Black legislators, the Black Caucus, to work with other grassroots organizations. And knowing this work and doing this work all around the country, I've had an opportunity to look at and experiment on what violence prevention and violence reduction look like as an expert, right? And I'm saying people tend to say, well, man, how y'all giving so-and-so some money and they don't really do violence prevention. But violence prevention and violence reduction looks like different things in different communities. Every neighborhood may not approach it the same, but there is a methodology to, looking at this from a public health standpoint. I think that's what activists have done. Looked at this from a lens of public health. And if you're looking at it from a lens of public health, any and everybody have a role in it. And it may not be the same role, but collectively we could reduce senseless shootings and killings in the Chicagoland area. I think that girls like me have been an outstanding partner, right? Knowing the importance that I remember in 2014 and 2015, when I was, early on when I was doing hospital response, right, or case management at the hospitals or running the hospital program, that there was a spike in violence and the intended target was women. I went back to the neighborhood and started talking to guys that I had those relationships with, because I come from the hood. I was once part of the problem, right? Before I made this transition in my life. I was inquiring like, damn, in my native tongue, right? Code switching. For those who understand what code switching is, it's one way of being professional, but then also using that street slang. So I was like, damn, Joe, man, what is it? Why is it? What's going on with these girls? And then some friends of mine that I trust opinion that was still, living that lifestyle, told me like, man, they, in our native tongue was they're in the middle of it. They in it. It ain't how it used to be, Von. Like how back in the day, girls was just so laid back. They played a different type of role. Now girls was intended targets because they were part of the situation, right? So not to dig into specifics, but to me, knowing that, it made me look at violence prevention in a different lens, and looking at it from a different lens, we started hiring more women and then empowering more women to play a major role, not only just doing the street level part of it, but leadership with violence prevention and how do we empower women. And then I think this is a thing with Black women or people of color that right now people underestimate it, but Black folks are being hurt 3 times the amount that any other race is. So the Access Tennis, Girls Like Me, Second Chance Initiative, Future Ties, all of us looking at violence prevention and violence reduction from different ways. Traditionally, I would be looking at violence prevention and what activists do. We work in 4 level 1 trauma centers anytime someone is shot, stabbed, or jumped on. And I'm saying from that experience, we know that if someone have an altercation right now and someone take a knife out or someone get jumped on bad enough, we know from history and research that someone is likely to be hurt outside that. As of 2021, we've seen like almost 2,500 patients already in our hospital program. But I also talk about the violence prevention work that we do in the communities. And right now we're working in 7 communities. And in those 7 communities, we're in a city that got 77 communities. 7 of the communities that we're working in, and out of the top 25 communities that's plagued with violence. But I think bigger than just what activists doing in other small grassroots organizations like Girls Like Me, right? Access Tennis, the support group. You all are doing unique things. We're working with folks that's high risk or people that's potentially be part of a problem and catching them before they make that transition. And I think we need to look at this both on both sides. How do we work with people that's at risk, right? At risk is one thing. And then we working with the population that's beyond risk, right? Or at the highest level of risk. To me, looking at this the same way you would eat an elephant is one bite at a time. We got to be able to identify those people that have that potential to be involved with violence. So to me, it's more of a, how do I empower small agencies to demonstrate their work, like you all have done. So it ain't like I just met you. So I can't hear you.
I'm muted. Sorry, y'all. But as Sarita and I were talking before, it's so small. The world is so small, and everything is God aligned, right? And God assigned. And so Access Tennis, who is funded by your organization, by activists, just hosted a U.S. Open event over the summer where Venus was even here on the south side of Chicago. Right? These type of things, Sarita, have deep meanings for all of us. Von, as you also know, Compton and the south side of Chicago, well, before gentrification, right? But Compton, when Serena and Venus were coming up, is the same as 95th, the same as 47th, the same as 55th. And in this movie, you'll see what those kind of what was in the area and what they had to overcome. And Sarita, what I loved was how Richard, or Mr. Williams, I'm gonna call him Mr. Williams, how Mr. Williams took those boys and gave them an example, and they respected their family. They respected that time when those girls was on that court. Everything else shut down. They stopped whatever they were doing. It wasn't going to be any gang banging or whatever they had going on while those girls was on the tennis court. But
so let me ask this question, because again, this for the whole world to know. I'm pissed, right? Because I called because, you know, anybody that know me, I always say I've been the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air a very long time. So to have Will Smith, you know, on the South Side or in the Chicagoland area, right, and me not have an opportunity to grace his presence, right? You know, I do. No, I do have a bone to pick, right, with my brother, man. But I think that over at Access Tennis, man, when I first met them and had an opportunity to visit the compound on what they were building, it was something that was unique. So that's just one part of it. I think even when we had Venus in Chicago with the tennis thing, to me, I think that it didn't get the notoriety that I think it should have gotten, right? Me being a true Chicagoan. I've had the luxury of coming out to California, right, to work with, you know, other grassroots organizations and see how they do violence prevention out there as well. Before, I mean, I'm saying this, and this dates me way back when I first started doing this work, probably close to 20 years at this point. But what I will say that violence could look the same all over the country, right? What made me focus on Chicago was when I was with my former employee, we had an opportunity to working around the whole country to look at, you know, violence from a health lens and helping other grassroots organizations build out their program. I think what's unique about what's going on in Chicago and the work that we're doing right now, this is the first opportunity we've had indigenous folks, you know, Black folks, people of color, in a role like we are in right now. And then how do we empower other Black agencies like some of the sub-grantees? I think at this point right now, we got close to 20 sub-grantees, but we started out with a strong, I think, 12 grassroots organizations. And I think, Lakeisha, what you all did was an example that Black folks can work together, and we also can manage money as well. So I think that's some of those stereotypes about what Black folks can and can't do. I think the tennis part of it is, I think that's unique, right? No, I ain't have the luxury of growing up and knowing the Syreeta and all of them, but I think that this puts it on the platform that, you know, Black folks can accomplish a lot of things if we have opportunity. I think if we put violence prevention in the right category on what got us to this point, what make, you know, us be hypersensitive, and I'm saying some of those things are some things that's been embedded in our community with economics and social development issues, where that, you know, I say all the time, there's not a even playing field. You know what I'm saying? But again, we've had to overcome a lot of different things as, you know, being Black folks.
You know,
so what you got to ask me, Lakeisha?
No, I was gonna have you. I want Sarita to have the last word, so I don't want you to talk yet, Sarita. About, let us know what about your son and about the Talbert Memorial Fund. I want you to close with that, so that's why I'm holding off for that. But
I'm listening.
I want Bond to talk about, you know, there's violence prevention, and as he said, there's an aftermath if somebody is hurt. What happens after that? Bond, I want you to talk about what happens at the hospital, what happens to the families of people who are victims and those who we lose. What does Activists do? Because you all do more than just you wrap around the family as well. So those of us and who have lost family members, what else does what supports does Activists provide?
So again, I think overall the initial part of it is safety. So again, let's talk about the hospital program, because that's what you're alluding to, right? So the hospital program, the first goal of the hospital program is to get to the hospital, and our first concern is safety, making sure that the family feels safe, make sure the hospital feels safe, right? And then we ask a series of questions about not who actually done it, but what led up to it, and how can we prevent it from being an ongoing situation. But once we triage what the situation is, because each situation could be something different, we're asking the need of the patient, but not just the patient, but the family members as well. Because what happens that I know we're meeting these folks on the worst day in their life. Me, for those who don't know, I've been a wheelchair user for the last 29 years, right? And I always say I know this work inside out because I was once part of the problem. I always talk to my friends and my colleagues, basically telling them that, hey, I don't judge what's going on in Chicago right now the same way everybody look at it, because again, I was once those individuals, right? And I got shot and paralyzed at 18, but I didn't change my life till I turned 30. So I always describe it like I took the senior route. But when I was a hospital, because I was a hospital responder myself for 5 years. So the intention of the hospital response thing is to do a few things. One of them is to meet the patient where they are, right? Work with the hospital and work with the family members as well. Depending on each situation is how we handle it. So say an example, we get to the hospital and the patient is shot, but he wasn't the intended target. When we interacting with the patient and the mom and all that, we're asking, what services do they need? And if there's something that we do internal, or if it's something that we resource out. So we meet them where they are. So if a person need to be signed up for get the victim services applications get filled out. If it's a case where the person needs to be relocated or get some support on moving and trying to get somewhere else until the situation resolve or get worked out. If it's a case where the person is trying to get employment or back in school, all those things is just an example of things that we triage. And we're looking at this from a holistic standpoint, that it ain't always just the individual. It could be the family members as well. Or it also could be like a case where I was, when I got shot and paralyzed, I wasn't ready to I went back to the same neighborhood, did the same thing I did for years to come after being shot and paralyzed at 18. So you got to meet people where they are. And to me, each case may be different, but it may be a case where we find employment for someone. We might get that person back acclimated back into the community or back into society. Or it could be a case where that person may be also incarcerated, but may be charged with a charge and may go to jail, and then we may have that same communication on both sides.
And what about for mothers? Unfortunate things that happen when the victim does not make it. You all provide support that way too. What's that look like?
So again, I think that's one of the things that we try to help with funeral arrangements as well, right? And then the grief counseling. So we got folks. Let's use an example like Gwen. She got her own 501c3, but she's one of our case managers at the hospital. But she works with moms of victims, and she works with them directly because she lost her son a long time ago as well. But other than those, I mean, depending on each nature of the situation, may be different. Like the kid we had that was shot and killed, that was I forgot the young man name that was shot and killed in the Gold Coast. You know, he had this big rap name going on. We worked directly. Not only did we meet the family on the worst day of their lives, we had some relationships and people who knew their family before their son was hurt. But we met them down in Northwestern Hospital, and we worked closely with that family to try to help resolve this situation, that it won't be an ongoing situation, and wraparound services with the mom press conference and all that. So I think what's unique though, Lakeisha, about the opportunity we've had to do this work is it's more survivors than it is people who expire, right? And I think the long-term goal with us is how we could be more preventive, and then how we do this wraparound service. So if it's a service that we don't provide, like grief counseling and counseling as well, that's something that activists is billing into our initiative, but there's other groups that deal with that directly, and we make those referrals, even to some of our sub-grantees or some of our partners.
And I think that is a perfect introduction for Talbert Memorial Fund and grief counseling. And what happens afterwards, Sarita. Tell us, what does the Talbert Memorial Fund, first of all, tell us all that you want us to know about its start, but then tell us what you want us to know right now today, how we can support it, and what it's doing for you as well.
So
my excuse, Lakeisha, I want to know that first.
I forgot. Yes, because Vaughn was so kind to give us his time. But I do want activists and the Talbert Memorial Fund to connect. I think there's a lot of synergy there. I think that will be a God alignment for you all to do that. as she's had this experience, and as you just talked about, making a transition to grief counseling. Will you be at the screening tomorrow night?
Who, me?
Yes. We would love to see you and Angie and the whole family. We're expecting to see you. And we're so grateful for Activist's support and sponsorship of it, of our film, of everything, basically. It's like we know Activist is family and support. So but we're looking to see you there tomorrow night.
You just had Joe there Monday. So you just had Activist.
That wasn't, we had passes and we went to a special screening, but that wasn't our fundraiser.
So again, I say, with all due respect, right? We got a lot of things going on, right? And if I'm not there, I'm gonna be there in spirit. But if not, my pocketbook gonna be there. So if there's anything else I can contribute without just, like I said, even right now, even though we knew this was last minute, I got that saying I can't be out nice. So when you call, we try to answer. So hey, I apologize for having to leave at this point. But sister, for sure, please pass my information. And again, I told you, like, what it is we're doing right now, we're willing to replicate not just this work, but we want to be an example of change. So if there's anything we could do to add to what you're doing, to help build out what you're doing as well, that's what part of the mission is with Activists, is being an example of that change, being an example that we can do this as Black folks. So Lakeisha, hey, hopefully tomorrow, I don't know what time it is. I ain't checked the screening time. I love the show. I love movies. Anybody know that? I'm a movie buff, right? But I can't say I'm gonna be there exactly tomorrow, but I promise to make it up. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Call me if you need me. Thanks y'all again.
Bye-bye. Yes. I wanted you all to meet. I think it's such a connection. This movie, like I said, is not for me. Somebody else may see a different thing. I saw a Black man unapologetically raising proud Black women or Black daughters with a Black family, with his wife and his family. I saw Black representation of what it means to have positive images and not let the media infiltrate or brainwash you. He stood up. He's like, no, she done told you what it was. She confident. She know what it is. And that, I'm not giving anything away by saying it, because everybody's seen that interview already. But the way he was in the media, to not let what the media is telling you make you believe it. So Syreeta, I want you to talk about your foundation, your fund, and the role, the connection you have again with Yatunda's
Research Center.
Yes, and what you're doing here in the Chicagoland area. Like Vaughn was saying, everything looks the same all over, but when we can have it for ourselves, we can support it ourselves here in our city.
Well, the Talbert Memorial Foundation was birthed unexpectedly in 2017 after losing my son. Unfortunately, he was shot the same day that we were celebrating my father's 75th birthday. So I look at it where my father was in. The irony is the time that the incident was reported, that's shown on my son's death certificate, and the time when like Facebook memory rolls around, and I had like posted when we were singing happy birthday to my father and he blew the candle out. It literally was in minutes from when my father blew the candle out from the time the call came in that a shooting had occurred. Mm-hmm. What Vaughn said, yes, with the women, speaking, unfortunately, my son's case has not been solved yet. What the chief of police has stressed is that a female was part of it. One thing we do know is that he was lured to University Park and basically shot, I guess, attempted robbery, and was shot one time in the back of the head. But from our understanding is he thought he was going to see a female. So same thing 20 years prior, my brother went to go meet a female friend who he had known since high school, and she asked for a ride. And by doing that, there was miscommunication. We don't know the full facts of what she said to her boyfriend, who my son knew. They all hung out the night before. These are people he went to school with years prior. He had, graduated, of course. But again, another female who was in charge of my brother being murdered or at the center. So Vaughn is right. If we can get our young ladies at the beginning, right, and again, tying in like tennis, it's about exposure.
Yep.
The more you can expose your child, the more they see the world outside of their 6-block radius, the more they see the world, even though they have the social media, it's the algorithms.
That's right.
So they're basically seeing the same thing over and over again. So if it's like a missing thought or life block, they don't know because they've not been shown, they've not been exposed. So one thing about the Talbert Memorial Fund is we're trying to find those missing blocks of what some of us, 95% of us, thinks is common sense. Unfortunately, when you talk to these young boys that I have, I live in South Shore, I live close to Tarrytown. My son was friends with some of the local boys here, but they consider me like a mother to them. And I don't judge them. And some people don't get my ideology of thinking because of what happened to my son. But I also know that when you pull the layers back and you really get to know some of these young men, they don't see that Black representation of a man being vulnerable, a Black man. So they don't know. They equate it being weak. So with weak, I have guns. And that's all they know how to do. They can shoot somebody, go to a friend's funeral, mourn, hug the mother, and now they're going after the ops. But you just seeing what just happened to this family, they don't get it. And I think as adults in society, we think that they should get it.
But it's on us. It's on us.
It is. But part of it, and part of the Talbert Memorial Foundation, in which I've been talking to them, because at the core of it, we could create as many great programs as we want to. But what they've said, and it's a real small fundamental, and that's what we're trying to figure out is, they say we don't know how to talk to each other. We don't know conflict resolution. So you could create these great programs and we can be involved. But let someone say something to us to tick us off. We don't know how to deal with constructive criticism and verbal conflict resolution. Without those two, me, again, being affected by gun violence the way I have and understanding from their point of view, unless we're talking to them and getting them on board, making them a part of the solution, honestly, we're wasting time and money.
Yep.
So that's what Talbert Memorial Fund is we just been really sitting with them, doing focus groups with them and trying to find out what is it. And a lot of times they say, we need you adults to be patient with us. We're not going to get it on the 1st, 7th, 10th. Like Vaughn said, he was shot at 18. He didn't leave the life until 30, and that's because, again, you pulling them out of such a structured and comfortable zone that when you expose them to something out of their element, that's that vulnerability that they have no idea what it is. So I took one of Jalen's friends with me to grief counseling, and he had like the pillow on him, but that was his barrier. But it took that non-confrontational because he trusted me. He's seeing the energy I have with my grief counselor. And as he filled out the paper, it clicked on him. Now I know what PTSD is.
Yes.
I hear it. We rap about it.
Yes.
But now, so those seeds are dropped, that uneasiness of the stomach as he's answering the questions. And I gave that to some of Jalen's other friends. And again, it was like, this is what PTSD is. This is what we feel. This is why we drink. This is why we smoke. This is why we, look for other outlets, because we don't know what this is. We're told we have PTSD, but we're not educated on what that looks like.
You telling me what it is, but how can I identify it for myself? How can I connect?
Make it tangible. So once you make it tangible, but it's like the non-threatening way of making them feel like they could be vulnerable. So the other part or pillar of the Talbert Memorial Fund is focusing more on men. We want to work on a program called Real Men Cry. And that's because, again, ask any of these young Black men, they don't know what vulnerability is. They've not seen no one of color who looks like them, who's from their hood, show expressions. So even for fathers who, and I advocate for, we need to check in on our Black fathers who've lost sons.
Yes.
Because once that funeral is over, I get accolades and sympathy and comfort. I could get on social media. People are pouring into me. But what about Jalen's father?
Yeah.
So I check in on him. He's going through his own counseling. And it kind of opens up a whole nother world for them outside of the death of a son, but other things to help shift them. And then that changes the nucleus of their household, which changes the nucleus of their block, which changes the nucleus of their community. And I think that's where healing begins. And then the part that people don't get when I say this, I really want to work with the family on the other side. Part of finding out who killed my son. Yes, I want to know why. Yes, I want justice for my son. But I also want to hug that mother and that father.
That's right.
Because I really believe if that mother and father has done what they could have to raise their child with whatever resources they have, and you could tell good parents who their children have created a life outside of their upbringing, right? I personally feel that that family, that mother and that father, should not be victimized because of their child. That mother and father cannot get on social media and say, I'm having a bad day. I'm not having a good day because my son killed somebody. Immediately they're being attacked. It's your fault. You should have did it. And again, you got to heal that side, because what if they have other kids? They probably become overprotective because they thought I lost this one.
Yeah.
And I think they're a little bit more effed up than maybe I, because not only are you losing a child to the system, your child calls this family over here to, so that's like double the pressure on you. And so that's that internal stress that now that family, again, is dealing with. And if they don't know to go get grief help, counseling, they're taking that out on their actions, whether they become emotionally unsupportive to the rest of their family. So you can't heal one side without attempting to try and heal the other side. And I think that's where God has placed me, in that uncomfortable position. I just remember my mom at my brother's trial when she had to do a victim impact statement, not knowing 20 years later how those seeds would bloom into fruition. But she looked at that other side and she told, it was 2 gentlemen charged with my son's murder. So the sets of parents and their family in there. And she said, 13 months, 6 weeks, whatever. Not once did you all look across the aisle and say, I'm sorry, but I forgive you. Because if I don't, not only would you all sons have murdered my son, you would have murdered me. You would have caused my kids to lose a mother, my husband to lose his wife. So one, I'm not going to give that power to you all for my healing, but also you may not even know how to say, I'm sorry. And that again, conflicted back then, but it was so powerful that I see it from my mom's side, just how we were raised. And to learn to take layers off and not just be so surface. But again, if we're going to talk about healing a community, yes, you want to heal me and my grief, and we want to try and do at risk and, you know, those who are beyond, but we also need to talk to that side and to the best of our ability, right? And so this movie, again, is about compassion.
Yes.
About resilience.
Yes.
About breaking through barriers.
Yes.
And again, some people, I think they give me grace because of my situation, so they don't argue with me on my point of why I want to be able to hug that mother. Because if you remember last year, maybe a few months back, where the white woman killed the guy in the apartment and the family, the hug, and everybody was just like, you know, all the negativeness that they got because they're white and all that. And it's like, one, you don't know these people's hearts. You don't know why. You're just looking at things from an outside point of view, but whether they were white or if that was a Black family, again, you're seeing color in that moment of a family trying to heal. And you guys are bothering seeing them based on your own, limited view.
People are not ready for metaphysicians, and you are such. I can see your spirit, and I everything you're talking about, that is exactly my belief system. Radical forgiveness is not just forgiving somebody when they step on your shoe. Radical forgiveness is not just forgiving someone when you had a car accident and everybody walks away. Radical forgiveness is, can you radically forgive that which has destroyed you, that which has broken you down? Can you see the God moment in that?
Yes.
So you just touched me deeply with that. For anybody who is watching, and this is not you feel like you want to forgive, but you can't, for some deep pain and hurt that's happened to you, whether it's a violation of your personal body, whether it is through death, and crime. I offer you an invitation to read Colin Tipping's Radical Forgiveness book. I don't argue with what you're saying, Sarita. First of all, it's not anybody else's place to tell someone how they heal or their journey through. But what I do believe is that everything that happens to us is to put us closer to God.
Amen.
And I think that, and I'm not speaking for you, but from my understanding, spiritual understanding, is you are probably closest to God than you have ever been. And every time you put that in the universe about your forgiveness and I'm sure some days you don't want to forgive. I'm sure there are days when you curse the existence, but the God, your highest God self, moves you closer to that realm.
You know what? I'll be honest. Part of when I went to grief counseling was our views of what I seen a grieving mother, parent, specifically for a child has been murdered, right? My feeling was screwed up because of what I witnessed. And I thought something was wrong with me because I didn't feel that way. Like when it was time, I didn't want my son's death date to be my father's birthday. So I said, whatever we can do to get him to that next day, let's do. And we did. And when it got to the point where he was cold bleeding, and becoming more unstable, I prayed. And then I said, Jalen, if it's time for you to go, give me a sign. And I can't lie, I seen that hand drop. And I said, okay, because he had no movement. But, when you're looking and you know. And I had pre-decided when they told me he was brain dead that I was going to donate his organs. So when the time was to pull the plug, and again, that's such a hard decision that you're being the one to say, now you got to go. But before he left this earth, his last words to me were, I love you. I'll see you later. And me hearing him laugh. Everybody doesn't get that sense of peace, right? So I got that. And then I equate that I brought him into this world and God gave me the withal to let him leave this world. And it was very peaceful. We weren't crying. And part of it was because I knew everybody else's emotions depended on mine.
Yeah.
So if I let loose, it was going to be, and I did not want that energy around my son. So it was peaceful. It was calm. I felt good. But then I knew I needed to start grief counseling immediately. And I went through 2 or 3 and I was just like, yeah, y'all not, I'm good.
Right.
Put your money back, insurance company. And I found a Black woman, Dr. Brenda Thompson, and we vibed. The only thing I asked of her was, how can you counsel me if you've never lost a child, specifically to gun violence? You can only get to me to a certain point. And then, I have to try and respect, but this is my mind, trying to understand how can you empathize, be compassionate to me. So what I did was I took a trauma counseling class through the University of Milwaukee to kind of understand it from a professional side. So I wanted to put myself in a position and I offer this to your audience, for any type of grief that you're dealing with. Doesn't have to be as traumatic that I went through, but I want to be that conduit, because some people aren't ready. My mom never went to grief counseling. Miss Orsine never went to grief counseling after her daughter. And I remember on the phone with her, and she's saying, Sarita, I look up to you because you say his name. For years, I could never say and I don't even think she said Yatunde's name at that moment. She just said I couldn't say my daughter's name. And my mom never really talks about my brother unless me and my younger brother bring up a memory or whatever. But it's not like I talk freely about Jalen every day. So I understand neither one of them had grief counseling. They, again, strong Black women, but we're told we have to be strong, and we could do it. We'll get past it. We got children. God anointed me differently.
I was going to say, you are special.
So I want to be that conduit for people who aren't ready to go see grief counseling, or their hiccup about grief counseling is because, like mine, how can you tell me what to do, what to feel if your foot have never been in my shoes?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my foot has been in their shoes from a sibling side and now as a parent side. So if I can help heal somebody that way to get them to a level of comfort, or just know that unfortunately, we're in this sorority that no one asked to be jumped into, but we are. I put myself out there as a sponge to help mothers and fathers go through that roller coaster of emotions.
How can people get more information? How can they support the Talbert Memorial Fund? Is there a website?
Yeah, so they could go to talbertmemorialfund.org, and on there it kind of breaks up our two main pillars, which is Jalen's journey. That one focuses on young Black men, fathers. We did a vaccination event over the summertime. And then it's RHEE360, RHEE360.com. That's sort of like my personal open journal of healing. So every Mother's Day, I do something for mothers. I did it since the very first Mother's Day without my son. For me, part of my healing process is I have to do for someone else. One, it keeps my mind busy because I'm doing things, and it keeps me from falling into a depressive state. I know what it feels like. I know sometimes it can feel good, and I know that's not me. And it's a battle, you know. So RHEE360 is my open journal, open diary of healing, and there you could purchase candles, and those candles. Oh wait.
Right.
You can purchase candles, and the entire cost goes to the Talbert Memorial Fund. I make every single candle because it's part of my healing journal, and a candle to me represents the light that our children, that our being is placed here on earth. So just being in a space where the scents, they just kind of open me up. They kind of put me in a different energetic space of healing, especially when I'm having bad days. I go downstairs into my lab and I'll be down there for hours just making candles. And that's my way of crying, laughing, and being able to put other people in position of healing.
Well, I am, for one, I consider myself blessed to have met you.
Thank you. Ditto.
I had no idea. I mean, I had no idea. And I am, I'm just a spiritual person. And I can feel your love. I can feel your energy. I feel that new thought. I'm right here with you. We need you. We need this kind of energy in the universe right now with so much violence. We need healing. We need a different sensation. We don't need to continuously aggravate the lowest parts of ourselves.
Yes.
It's easy to be angry. It's easy to go to anger. It's easy to want revenge. It's easy to feel depressed. It's easy for those low vibrating feelings. It's much harder work. And
yes.
you are so, oh my God, I don't even want to use words like strong and brave because those are so, they're not even fitting. But for you to take up that mantle because you could easily choose another path. I'm grateful for you moving forward. I'm grateful. I feel like in this little bit of an hour, I feel like I know Jalen. I feel like I've been at family functions with his laughter because of you. Jalen you had a special son, but Jalen had a special mother. And I thank you for coming on with Girls Like Me. I know that there's something we can do together. I don't know if the girls can help do something for the Mother's Day and make some candles or whatever, but we're gonna figure it out.
Figure it out. Yes.
Figure it out. And one, I want us to say thank you for providing. You know, we all watch Venus and Serena. I know I was watching when I was in college, and I think that Serena was the most beautiful Black woman on the face of the earth. Like,
but you know what? I would tell you, Venus is the quiet one in a sense because Serena's out there.
mm-hmm.
But there was one year where I went to Barbados with Venus
Mm-hmm.
and Isha, and it was like for a tennis exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally remember Venus getting in the car with hardly no makeup, and I start crying. And she was like, Riri, what's wrong with you? And I was just like, you are flawlessly
beautiful.
Her statue,
yes,
just the way she walks, she talks. I think she doesn't get all the credit that she deserves. She's that quiet, powerful piece. She doesn't seek it, nor, from what I know of her, care about the attention. She likes family. She loves family in her, private space, but she literally is an African goddess. And the outfit that she wore to the movie premiere just embodied her all together. And while we were sitting down, I was trying to pull her. She was eating dinner and I'm trying to pull her skirt but I mean legs for days, her cheekbones. But if people really got a chance to know Venus, you would be enamored by her personality. She is Serena's the fun one. She's the fun, everybody sees her and she's just like she is. But Venus has she reminds me of an African queen. Her statue.
Wow.
The way she communicates, and she's very stern, and she does it with a smile. And
she's very careful with using her words.
She is. And then just so you know, the tennis years ago, they used to come to Chicago. It used to be like the Salem cigarette or Winston.
I remember that long time ago.
When they first kind of started into it, they had tournaments here in Chicago.
I never knew.
And then for whatever reason.
Yeah, I remember Salem cigarettes, and they used to do spades tournaments and all kinds of stuff, but I never knew the connection.
Yes, they did it here, and then for whatever reason went away. So, it's such a blessing that Kamal was able to birth it, and his goal is to get on the ATW tour, to have more events here in Chicago. My brother, who's an entertainment attorney, is putting together an event with both celebrities because he's an advocate player. I play every so often. He eats, lives, breathes, craps.
Wow.
Tennis.
Wow.
So he's actually putting together through the Talbert Memorial. We're going to do an event where he has actually celebrities that have, whether it's because of the girls or people just didn't know that they actually played tennis. So you kind of, again, you see them outside of the basketball or football. You actually see well-known entertainers playing tennis to go against some professionals, but the girls do use their non-dominant hand and they still be butt.
And I'm gonna tell you, I don't care who it is that comes to that celebrity tennis match. I guarantee you that they were inspired by
Yes.
their number one and that GOAT.
Yep.
They were inspired by Serena and Venus. They changed the game. And King Richard is an appropriate name, y'all, for this film because this man's vision, as you said, the scripture, he wrote that vision for his family. And I don't care what the media has tried to make us think about him. If it were not for his vision, his direction, his seed that he planted in his family, that he led his family with, we would not know Serena Williams. We would not know the first one that we knew, Venus Williams. And I'm just so excited that we are hosting this screening. Y'all gotta watch. Listen, see this movie. See this movie. I would love for you to see it with us and support our cause and keeping our programs free. But I don't care how you see it. I don't care if you stay home and stream it. I don't care how you see it. But watch this movie.
It's a dynamic movie about it. Because the other part of it is, even though he had wrote it for the other two, what you'll get from the film is it was a collective with the family, right? Everybody played their part. And to this day, everybody played, like Isha is the attorney. He went to law school, so nothing goes without her. You know what I'm saying? So so they were honestly, and I'm gonna have to tell them, they were like the first Kardashians, just without the controversy
and without the sex, because they actually got. Well, I ain't knocking. I don't want to say nothing bad about nobody, but this black family of black women had intellectual talents. He said it's not. We got future tennis stars in here, doctors, lawyers, everything. Yep. Right. And Miss Orstein wasn't short-stopping either. So yes, they are.
Oh my gosh, that woman it eludes power when you meet her. You just be like, sometimes she gives you that cold shake, but I love her to death. That's my other mother. Yeah. But yes, I think they were the first as a family unit to like really work together without all that extra. They each, you know what I'm saying, without the jealousy, the hate, like they support each other. And the parents didn't play each child. Each one got their individual, personalities, love, but it's the dynamics of a family and the intricacies. Because, in the movie, you see kind of stuff kind of come in and you just be like, but that's a real black family.
A real black family.
You just like,
that's a real black family.
Yes.
And I want people to see the dynamic between this husband and wife.
Yes.
Real husband and wife. It wasn't sugar-coated, but I want you to see the dynamic of a black woman, strong black woman, being who she is and still allowing the space for her husband and his flaws or whatever else, allowing and not being overshadowed or feeling like she had to be, shrink herself for that.
She gave some good quotes in there too about that.
Baby. My husband was like, that's you. Oh my God, that is you. But she is every one of us. And who hasn't watched Venus and Serena? Oh my God, I've been watching them forever and always seeing her in the stands and just to get to see her story, to hear her voice. Because they could have made it just about him because it's called King Richard. But
there can be no king without a queen.
I think that's the perfect ending for this. Y'all got to go watch this film. You can get tickets actually to see it with Girls Like Me on our website, girlslikemeproject.org. Just click on the link that says King Richard and you can purchase your tickets there. Every ticket you purchase goes to support our programs. All our programs are free for girls 11 through 18. We don't charge them for any of the services we have. We're starting a girls talk show that will be produced by girls, hosted by girls, and all about girls. Major announcement, we just got funding from Pearl Milling, which is the former Aunt Jemima brand. We were one of just a few who have been granted those funds to support our talk show, and we're so excited. We'll have more news about that tomorrow. Sarita, I thank you for just your good vibes. I love you, and people know. You know how you just feel that for people. You just feel. you're just special, and I thank God for you in this season right now.
Thank you.
Thank God for what you're going to do for us, our people. And when I say our people, just humanity, you're gonna take us further. You're gonna take us beyond. I have a saying called "Move beyond the block." You're gonna take us beyond the block of anger. You're gonna take us beyond the block of hatred and move us closer to.
I like that.
Yeah, you're gonna take us.
I like that. I need that shirt.
Yeah, you're gonna take us closer to our higher selves. And so I'm grateful for your life. I'm grateful for your work, and grateful for the memory of your son, of Jalen. Talbert Memorial Fund, it is here. You all see it streaming. I want you to follow that. Go to it now, please. Click on it. Buy some candles from the Reed candle line. It's so many of them that you can purchase. That supports the Talbert Fund. But there's some other things as well. Sign up for the newsletter. Follow any Instagram or Facebook pages so you all can stay abreast of what Syreeta has going on. Syreeta, tell my girlfriends, Venus and Serena, and all of the whole clan, I just love that family and what they represent for us. We are, God has given us, you know how Whitney Houston and people you've never meet in your entire life, but they have that fundamental impact on you.
Yeah.
And they have done that for all of us. So they've taught us all to dream and believe a little bit higher. So thank you for sharing your connection with them. Thank you for everything.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.